Greetings everyone. My name is Michelle Williams. I'm coming over here on this channel, and even though this is my digital marketing channel, but I wanted to put this content on my channel as well, because as a digital marketer and an entrepreneur, what I had to realize is that I was dealing with a lot of toxicity in relationships. I was dealing with a narcissistic husband. I was dealing with so many things. And what I realized is that my business would really never take off the way I wanted it to until I started learning about myself, taking back my power, not sabotaging myself for love. And so that birthed me to create a channel that on YouTube that is also called Conversations Over Coffee. But the name of the business and the brand is Heal and Thrive Business Hub, because I come from two different aspects within this brand. One is the digital marketing side, which is the channel right now that you're on. And the other is the Heal and Thrive side. Because in order to grow a thriving and healthy business, we can't sabotage ourselves for love in other areas of our life. We can't, be someone else in another part of our life. We have to make sure that we are using our voice, reclaiming our power, and making sure we're showing up as the best version of ourselves so we can thrive in love as well as in business. So with that being said, if you want to view some of the other content that is on my other channel, I will put that link below, but I am going to start uploading some of those episodes as far as when I create new content based on this type of topics with relationships, healing, self-care, setting proper boundaries. This is going to be uploaded to this channel as well. And I also want to just show you, I have also created a Loving Yourself First card deck. And this is a 42 card deck that deals with setting boundaries. It deals with also making sure that you're not sabotaging yourself for love, making sure that you are making sure that you are becoming who you were meant to be, the best version of yourself. And with that being said, I am hosting a free webinar on February the 2nd that's called Loving Yourself First. And we're going to dive into topics such as setting boundaries, what karmic cycles teach us, as I'm going to go through a little bit of that today. Also self-care, prioritizing yourself, and so much more. So all of that information will be located in the description box below. And I just want to say, excuse me, I'm coming over the flu, so I may be coughing and drinking my tea, but I want to get this content out. So this way, if somebody needs this information, it's available. So I hope that you will subscribe to this channel as well as the Conversations Over Coffee channel, because that's where the content of relationships will be more, more content uploaded toward that type of platform. Plus there are already videos on there that you can go ahead and look and choose which one resonates with you. So with that being said, let me dive into today's topic that talks about why karmic situations or why karmic cycles happen in our lives and what they are there to teach us. So let me cough because I feel like I have to cough. So excuse me again. This is the part of you have to do what you have to do, regardless of sometimes how we feel. I want to get this content out today. So let me take a sip and then we'll get into it. So everything that I'm going to be talking about is going to be coming from my perspective, things that I have went through, things that I am still learning about myself, and what I've learned about karmic cycles. And even a lot of times when I'm looking at other YouTubers and they're talking about, when we're into relationships, and let me just phrase it this way. Like, say that you meet someone and you are, feeling a vibe, feeling a connection there, and you feel like this is your person, this is your partner, but we hear about, there's a karmic in there, or there's something going on with other things that come into play. And sometimes we give so much energy to what's going on and on that aspect that we don't realize what that karmic situation comes to teach us. And what that situation comes to teach us is, are we going to sit and stay in places that don't serve us? Are we going to see the value that is within us? And sometimes in order to see that value that's within you, you have to go within. A lot of times we're looking for external things to, you know, fulfill us, or to make us feel whole, or to make us feel valuable, or we need that affirmation. We want somebody to encourage us. We want somebody to basically approve of us or affirm us. But in order for those things, when they do come, to feel authentic, is that you have to already be doing that for yourself. And this is what I've learned, because relationships that I have been in, and when I really sat back outside of me being in a 23-year narcissistic marriage, it really showed me a lot about how I gave away my power. Sometimes we don't even know the power that we have because we just allowed situations to linger too long. And what I would say about that, because a lot of things that we've gone through stem from childhood. And so that's why we hear so much about healing the inner child, because there's things that we may not have grown up with. We may have not grown up in a two-parent home. We may have not grown up with parents who poured into us. We may not have grown up with a foundation that gave us that self-awareness of who we are and how special we are and how much power that we had. So we just went through life experiencing all these different things. And then we were, you know, love starved for affirmation. We were starved for affection and all of these other things. And this is where, when someone comes in and they start love bombing us, we never felt that. So it feels good that we get that dopamine hit, because we are actually experiencing something that we've always craved for. We crave for love. We crave to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be supported, right? So when we start feeling those emotions based on when we are now maturing and we're becoming into our adulthood, and we are now seeking out relationships, are we seeking out those relationships based on the feeling that they're giving us? And most of the time, it's basically the truth, because we are emotional beings. But what happens is when we start allowing that to be the foundation from which we build a relationship on. Because if that person is removed from our lives, if that person now no longer wants to pour into you, or basically wants to, what I would say, manipulate you by when they approve of you, then they affirm you, then they pour into you, then they say all these kind words to you. But soon as you do something that they don't like or they don't approve of, now they take that back. They don't say those words. They may even, you know, downgrade you. They may say things to hurt your feelings and make you feel, you know, some type of way. And now you're trying to do everything to please them because you want that feeling back. You want that emotion back. Excuse me. And so with that being said, when we are in these type of relationships where we see people are manipulating us based on, you know, the response that they want from us, and we are basically love starved for just someone to love us, and a lot of us are empaths. We basically, you know, are people pleasers. We want to give. We love to give. We love to encourage. We love to kind of fix people's problems, and that's where we end up getting into trouble, because we're trying to do something for them that they should be doing for themselves, as well as we should be loving on ourselves first instead of looking for someone else to validate us. Because what I've learned and what I'm learning is, when I started setting boundaries in my relationships, when I started saying, I won't accept this type of treatment, I won't accept this type of, you know, whether it's how somebody talks to you, how somebody, you know, tries to play on your emotions, or try to get you into a place of, you know, doubting yourself. When you start really understanding who you are and stop thinking that if this person is no longer in your life, that it's going to cause you, like, you know, oh God, I can't live without this person. I need this person. But if this person is causing you pain, if this person is not there to see you become the best version of yourself, then that's not the person for you. And I think that when we as women start setting boundaries, or even in the mind frame that maybe I need to start putting up boundaries, the first thing that's going to come up is that when I set this boundary to not only protect myself, but protect my peace, protect my emotional health, my mental health, then there is a chance that this person is going to leave me. And I think that is where a lot of women don't set boundaries, is because they feel as though I have or I need this person in my life. For whatever that reason is, it could be because maybe they are a handsome person. Maybe they're a good person intimately, as far as, the sex is amazing. And those things keep us attached and tied to people that we should no longer be in relationship with. Because if you don't love yourself enough first, then you are basically putting yourself continually in the fire of having your emotions, played with, having your mental, capacity just dwindling, because you are putting everything on this person to make you feel some type of way, instead of you now going within and making sure that you are healing those parts of yourself that maybe have abandonment issues, have rejection issues, have, low self-esteem issues, and start dealing with it and start uncovering and wondering, like, why am I allowing myself to go through this? Why am I not seeing the value in myself? And that can come from so many different places, because sometimes when we grow up with belief systems that are not rooted in us becoming our higher self. We're rooted in sometimes belief systems that deal with religion. We're rooted in belief systems that deal with the family dynamic. Well, we don't talk about this. When we go through certain things within the family dynamic, we don't address it. We just act like it doesn't exist, because we want to put on this persona of, we're perfect, or we, excuse me, we just don't show up like this. So, excuse me, a lot of things are just kind of swept under the rug, where we don't address these key issues that are in family dynamics. And we grow up with this type of belief system, whether we get it from, our friends. Maybe there's a belief system that we've gotten from our friends, or certain things within the community, or whatever that is. And then we take that into our adulthood, and we try to formulate relationships based on a belief system that never even served them, let alone serving us, as we start looking for going into romantic relationships. So the thing about and I'm going to always speak from my perspective, because that's the only perspective I can speak from, is that when I started going through certain relationships, and what I started realizing is, why am I so quick to sacrifice myself for love? And the thing about when you've gone through, I don't know who can identify with this. If you can, just, put it in the comments below. But when I would feel something that was off, or I would feel something that maybe was asked of me that I knew at that time it was something I shouldn't have done, but it was something I did because I felt like I don't want to lose this person, or I want them to view me as a good person. I want them to view me as, I'm supportive, I'm helpful. So in my mind, I'm making up excuses for what this person may be asking me. And I'm not talking about on a sexual type of tip at that point. What I'm talking about, it could be maybe this person is coming into your life, and maybe they are, asking you for money, or asking you to do certain things that maybe you're really not comfortable with, but because they have love bombed you and they are showing you all of this attention maybe you've never received before, and you're feeling like, oh, well, it's okay, I'm gonna just go ahead, it's nothing wrong, with helping out somebody. So we justify that within our mind to make us feel as though, it's okay to do this act, or this, act of kindness, or whatever that is. And maybe it will cross that boundary of sleeping with that person. I don't know, but I'm just laying it out there, because a lot of times we feel as though if I'm just trying to show this person that I'm down. I'm just trying to show this person that I have their back. I'm just trying to show this person that, I'm a good catch, or I'm this and I'm that. And the thing about it is, people can feel desperation. But the other thing that I want to also say is that you already have a witness in your spirit. There's something within you that gives off an uncomfortability, where in the back of your mind that you shouldn't do it, but you justify it because you feel as though, well, if I don't, then they're not going to like me. Or if I don't, then they're going to leave me for somebody else, or they're going to, put their attention elsewhere. So you do things to make people accept you. You do things to make people gravitate to you because you're trying to show them the type of person you are. But they already know that. They already see that because you carry a light, you carry a wholeness, you carry almost like a purity within your energy that attracts them. So they come and they do the love bombing thing and all those kind words. Maybe they even show up and maybe, give you a couple of things just to draw you in. But you already have that witness, that discernment within you that's letting you know that when something doesn't feel right or something is off, you need to go with that feeling, because that's really your spirit protecting you, letting you know, wait a minute, what are you doing? Because sometimes it's not even to say a relationship hasn't formed. It's basically you could be talking to this person for 3 weeks, a month, or maybe more. And then soon as they feel as though now you're invested or there's a connection there, now they start with, asking things of you that you probably could not even get from them. Right? And then once we get on that hamster wheel of doing certain things for love, for attention, for affection, then we start knowing that we're hooked. But now we feel as though that we've invested so much of our time, energy, and money into that relationship or that situation that now we know that if we now start setting up a boundary, that it's probably going to not go in our favor. And then the mind-blowing part of it is that why would I want to continue to be in a relationship that is basically not reciprocating to me what I'm reciprocating to them? I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves, because it's nothing wrong with, when you are talking and maybe forming some type of connection with the person and you are getting invested in that. And then maybe there's a time where you may need a little help here and there, but it's a reciprocal type of thing. It's not just a one-sided thing. There's nothing wrong with that as long as both parties agree with that, because it's all about what are you doing this for? And I think that's the thing that we need to ask ourselves a question. Why am I doing this act? Am I doing this act because I genuinely want to help this person? Or am I doing it because I want them to be more attracted to me? I want them to really see, the type of person I am. So I'm doing it for a motive because I want to continue to feel that connection. I want to continue to feel valued. I want to continue to feel whole. I want to continue to feel like I am somebody, because without that, without that, I'm feeling less than. I'm feeling like, that I don't matter, that I don't have value outside of what this person says to me. And I had to come to the conclusion in a situation that I was in, even through my marriage at that point, is that why am I allowing myself and continually putting myself in a situation where I know it doesn't serve me? Like, I had to go within, because I can't ask the person that is already taking advantage of me, because all they're going to do is gaslight me and make me feel as though, oh, what are you talking about? Or you shouldn't feel that way, or da-da-da-da-da. So they're going to gaslight me or talk me out of what my intuition is telling me that I should pay attention to. And so sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, because when we start going within and start realizing, well, the reason why I have abandonment issues, because I was abandoned. And just to give you a little bit of, background, as far as the reason why sometimes we have these abandonment issues or rejection issues or all these different type of things in our life, and it shows up in our romantic life, is because my mother had me at a very young age. My mother had me when she was like 14 years old. And back then, in that time period, it was unheard of for, children to basically raise babies. So at that point, I was taken from my mom at birth, and basically I was a ward of the state. I was put into foster care. So that was the first abandonment issue that I faced as a baby, meaning my mother didn't even get a chance to nurture me. My mother didn't get a chance to bond with me. My mother didn't get a chance to do whatever a mom does because she was still a child. So when we understand that attachment, that detachment and that abandonment started from basically now being birthed into a world where now you don't even have that mother there nurturing you as a baby, right? So you're going through all of these different systems from foster care. Then I went to go live with my great aunt, and she was basically into the church, and that was another belief system that was, set into motion. And then now you reconnect with your mom years later. Now you're a teenager, and now she done fell into other aspects of life that has really affected her life as far as alcohol and drugs. So she's not really herself of who she, could aspire to. So when you're dealing with all those dynamics and you don't really have someone that's there to pour into you, to teach you, to basically, affirm you, then when you get into your adulthood and you start now forming relationships, you still have that abandonment issue within you from being a baby. You still have that thing of rejection, feeling that rejection because now you didn't have your mom nurturing. Dad was nowhere to be found, right? So you just started gravitating to the first person who told you, oh, you're pretty, you're beautiful, oh, I love you. And because you craved for that, you seen it in other families. Because when I grew up, I had friends that I met in the church that had a big family. I think the mother and the father had like 15 kids. I think it was 5 boys and 10 girls. So I was friends with a couple of the sisters, and I would go over to their house, and it was just this big family unit, and it was just beautiful. And I craved that. I craved to have, I had a brother that my mother did have later on in her life. And I, was jealousy over that because she was able to raise him, but she didn't raise me. And it was just this whole dynamic of, was I not good enough? Was I not worthy enough? Why did you was able to keep my brother, but not me? And just all of these things and all of these dynamics that we go through, and we don't see our sense of self or our sense of worth because of the journey that our life had to take on at that time. So I want to just go back because I wanted to just give a little bit of context of sometimes why we have these issues in our life because of things that we've experienced early on in childhood. So now bringing it back forth to like romantic experiences and going through things and trying to receive love from other people because you've craved that and you've never gotten that. You've never, felt as though you were poured into or affirmed as a person. So now when a man comes in and he starts to tell you these things and you start believing it, but he's basically just using you, whether it's for money, whether it's for sex or whatever it's for, then you start feeling as though you got to keep that up because in order to continue to get that love or whatever semblance of love that you want from that person, you feel you got to perform for it. But when I kind of got to the place, not to even say kind of, when I've got to the place of now recognizing if me being in a relationship is still having me to question my worth, if me being in a relationship where there's no reciprocity, there's not give and take, then what am I doing? Because I cannot continue to live like this. So something has to come to a point in time where I have to really look within. And that caused me to go within, to start journaling, to start, reading books on doing shadow work, to start really getting uncomfortable, excuse me, with getting uncomfortable with understanding that I couldn't control the events that happen in my life, but I can control how I show up now in my adult life. And I don't have to sacrifice myself for love because that first love should come from me. I should become the person that comes to the place where I see the value in me, that I see the worth in me, even though it wasn't displayed in my life. And that only came from having a relationship with the Most High. It came from me reading his word and understanding that when he said that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in my image. I know everything about you. I know the numbers of hairs on your head. I know you're down, sitting, and uprising. I know every word from afar off. I know every word even before it's formed in your mouth. So to me, a God, a source, that would love me to the point where love me so intimately and not even requiring anything from me, but obedience, meaning obedience to live from a pure place in my life, not a place where I got to do things in a way that, hurts other people, where I got to do things in a place that, sabotages somebody else or manipulates somebody else for something. And when I started to understand the purpose, and the purpose is love is the highest thing. Love is to me, the highest frequency. And once you come into that frequency of love and loving yourself to the point where you're not looking for it outside of yourself because it already exists within you, then you start attracting those who are in alignment. And let me say this, and even when you start vibrating on that frequency of walking in that place of loving yourself first and loving yourself to the point of where you are not just accepting any type of person into your space. Yeah, you're going to attract, some less than desirable people. But then because you have the wisdom, because you have the discernment, because you have the knowledge, because you are pouring into yourself, you're able to know who's coming to play and who's not coming to play. You're able to discern who's coming to either take up your time, take up space, or basically bring you out of who you are supposed to be. You are able to discern that, and that's when you can shut things down on the onset. And I'll give you an example of an experience. At one point I was trying to go online and date online, but I knew to have boundaries in place. And this is what I would say, take it if it's something that you want to incorporate into your life. So it was this person and I met, and we decided to come offline and we exchanged phone numbers. And so I remember the person said, well, can I call you? And I said, sure. So they called me, but I told them when they called me, when we text before the person called me, I said, I'm going to bed at 9:30, right? So just letting them know that this is the time that I'm going to bed. And I shared this in another video. If you go to my other channel, you'll probably hear it. I don't remember the title of it, but I shared this before. And so when they called me, it was maybe about 5 minutes to 9. So I was like, okay, good time. But then it was like, I don't know what was going on, but sometimes we as women have to pay attention to things that we hear and not just, nudge it away as, oh, that's just me. No, every little thing, sometimes your intuition is telling you, pay attention, pay attention. And it was like they were kind of hesitant. And then it was, oh, hold on. Hold on a minute. So it was just like a lot of, I don't know, little things going on in the background that I just, was kind of giving me pause for cause, giving me cause for pause, right? So we really didn't get into a conversation because, again, there was all these distractions going on. So they said, well, can I call you back in a couple of minutes? I said, sure. So I'm saying, okay, time is still good. So it was getting around 9:15, 9:18. So I'm like, okay. Told them 9:30, but they're gonna, okay. So just looking to see. So they text me and say, oh, don't go to sleep. I'm going to call you soon. I'm like, okay. So I'm still, giving them the benefit of the doubt. So they called around 9:20, right? So they said, oh, I'm sorry, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay. So as we're talking, so, whatever, getting, whatever icebreakers and things out of the way. So I'm noticing the time. So it's getting close to 9:30. So I let 5 minutes go by, right? So then they're still talking, right? Whatever. So I says, well, I'm going to have to wrap this up because, I already told you I was going to bed at 9:30. So it's already 5 minutes past 9:30. So and they were like, oh, you really ain't going to bed at 9:30. Why you said? And I had to let them know. regardless of whether I'm going to bed at 9:30 or not, I told you that I am going to bed at 9:30. So you don't have the right to question me to say, oh, you really ain't going to bed at 9:30. And I felt that that was the first red flag. Because if a woman is telling you and she's setting a boundary, and sometimes you need to set boundaries to see if people are going to try to cross them, see if people are going to try to make you say, oh, well, she said 9:30, but she really didn't mean it. And I allowed it to go over 5 minutes for a purpose, just to see if this person was going to respect the boundary that I put in place. So when they didn't do that, then I ended the call short, right? So then... Excuse me. I'm so sorry about this cough and this cold. So then after the conversation ended, and I was really sitting there and thought after we finished talking, and I said, you know what? If somebody is not going to respect my boundary of time when I set it forth, then to me, there's no need for me to go any further, and not even just to say respect it, but then argue with me about me setting it as to say you're lying, you're really not going to go to bed at this time. So I text them and I said to them, I said, when a woman sets a boundary for her life or for whatever reason, you need to respect that and not argue with her about her, setting that boundary. And so when he saw the message, he was like, what? Oh, go to bed. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I was like, second red flag, right? And I'm like, no, we're not going to do this. So I just end up blocking him. And I think he had texted me that next morning, good morning, or some kind of way he was able to send another text, but I didn't respond because I knew at that point in time, if you can't respect the boundary that I first set and you have an issue with that, then it tells me I need to go no further with you. And I think that's what we need to do as women. We need to get so much invested in knowing ourselves, loving ourselves, not trying to get someone else to see our worth and see our value and see that if you don't see it, then I'm sorry that you don't see it. But the next person hopefully will. And we won't have to go through this because now they understand why I'm putting this in place and they respect that, right? So I just put that, example out there just to let you understand that when you start really pouring into yourselves, when you start loving yourself first, when you start seeing your value and seeing your worth and not letting just anybody come across that and not letting them just treat you any kind of way because they feel as though, oh, well, they're a man and they can just, and I'm not just saying it from the standpoint of a woman or, a man approaching a woman. It could be the other way around with men as well. Like, don't let a woman, come in and try to, hoodwink and bamboozle you either. So I'm not just sticking up for, women. I'm basically saying it should be reciprocity on both sides. Regardless of what's going on, you need to value you first and making sure that you are getting the outcome in relationships that you want and both parties are in agreement with that. So as I am going to, continue to say about what karmic cycles teach us, it teaches us how to become better versions of ourselves. It teaches us how to teach people how to treat us because, excuse me, because when you start treating you right, you teach other people how to treat you right. And we don't even understand that maybe you can come across a person that maybe came, in your life and somebody that you really like, but at some point you knew you had to set boundaries with this person, even though you knew that could have meant them walking away from you, right? Or you walking away from them. But because of you setting boundaries, because of you investing in yourself, and because you pouring into yourself, it caused that person to basically look at you and say, wow, nobody has ever done that with me. Nobody has ever, set a boundary with me. Nobody has ever really made me feel as though I needed to adhere to other people's boundaries because, I thought I was a ladies' man. I thought I was, a woman who could just get anyone I wanted. But because you set boundaries and let a person know, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do, how much money you have or don't have. I'm letting you know that I value me enough not to let you come and play with me. And if you can't respect that, if you can't value that, then there's nothing left, for us to go forward with. You have a good day and a nice life, but I know my worth and I know my value. And it can cause somebody else's life to change dramatically because you started loving yourself first and pouring into yourself first. So what karmic cycles really do teach you is it teaches you how not to continue to self-sabotage yourself for small scraps of love or attention. It teaches you how to now go into that place really valuing who you are. And the thing about it, if you just come out of a relationship, hopefully you had time to heal before jumping into another relationship, because I speak against that too. A lot of times people are getting out of relationships and going into new relationships to heal from that former relationship, and they have not done the work. So now they look at the other person to basically heal them, and nobody can heal you but you. Let me say that. Nobody can heal you but you. So with that being said, when you get into another relationship based on the last relationship you are, sometimes you'll be tested to see, okay, let's see, because now this person checks all your boxes. This person has the looks. This person has, the time, the money. They have everything just to say they check all your boxes, right? So now, will you sabotage this relationship? And not to say sabotage a relationship, but will you lower your standards? Will you remove boundaries that you set with others because this person checks all the boxes? So now it's just carte blanche with them. They could just, call you any time of night. They can basically, and I'm not saying at some point when the relationship has evolved and now this is your person and y'all exclusive, then yeah, okay, your baby call you 1:00 in the morning. You gonna pick up that phone. I'm talking about when you are first getting to know a person, when you're first getting into that, that era of, meeting them and forming some type of connection and, talking, getting to know each other's likes and dislikes and things of that nature. But what I also would say is that when you get into new relationships, it basically tells you and tests you, are you going to sacrifice your values and your integrity because this person checks all your boxes, because this person is the person that, you feel as though this is it. You're like, you don't even want to look nowhere no more. So you'll kind of let them, get away with things that you wouldn't let somebody else get away with. So that's where the litmus test really comes in at, because really when you start loving yourself, it's basically not even sabotaging the relationship. You're sabotaging yourself. You're basically telling yourself that this person is more important, that I have to lower myself back in order, because this is what I want. In order for me to have what I want from this person, whether it's love, attention, whatever that is, I gotta now hold back the real me in order to have them in my life. And I think that should never be. That should never be. You should never try to be somebody else in order to make someone feel as though, you're down with them or you got their back. Be who you authentically are, because that's the person they should have fallen in love with, not some fake or false version of you, but the real version of you as you are evolving. Because the more you evolve, the more you attract what it is that God or source wants to bring into your life, the abundance that you want, the life that you want. You can't attract it from a place of being inauthentic, because the universe won't bring you something that is inauthentic. It wants to bring you everything that you want and you desire. But in order for you to live that life and to live in that timeline, you have to be your authentic self. You can't be out here trying to fake your way to certain things, or trying to run over people or manipulate people, or even manipulate and sabotage yourself in order to gain something, because there's always going to be a price to pay for that. And how it shows up in your life is how it's going to show up in your life, based on the things that you do and how you treat other people. But the whole gist of this topic is understanding that karmic cycles come to teach you about yourself. And from that standpoint, when it's teaching you about yourself, it's teaching you to what will you accept and what won't you accept. How are you loving on yourself? And now teaching other people how to love you correctly. But you can't teach somebody to love you correctly if you're not loving yourself correctly first. So I hope this helps you. And it's going to lead to more conversations, because I think when I have my webinar, which I did mention in the beginning of this video. So when the Loving Yourself webinar goes forth February 2nd, I'm going to come back with these karmic cycle topics. And I'm going to speak it from the standpoint when we're dealing with karmics from the relationships that we may be in. And maybe there has been a karmic cycle that you've experienced from maybe the person that you're dealing with. And maybe this is a union that is destined to be, but there's a karmic that has been in this person's life, in your person's life. And now they're trying to cause havoc, or they're trying to do things to sabotage the relationship because they want this person back. So they're trying to do all of these things in order to get this person to stay with them and not with you. And I'm going to speak from that standpoint, because I want us to understand that nobody really has power over you or your person. It comes to a decision of what people truly want in their life. And people don't want third parties or all of these things in their life. They have to make a decision and stand on business to say, this is what I want. This is what I'm going after, because dealing with this other party has caused me pain, trauma. I keep going back to them, experiencing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And if that continues to happen and you're in that type of situation, you have to now come to the conclusion, is this something that you want to continue to deal with? Do you want to continue to deal with the person that does not know how to make a decision to cut ties with someone who is not serving their higher purpose? And so we're going to dive into that topic a little bit more deeper, because I think it is really a key component. Because sometimes I don't know why we believe that these people that operate in dark matter have power over us. People only have power over you what you give them. When you give them that power, when you give them, and the word, I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't, it's escaping me right now. But when we give over that power to them, that tie, and a lot of times the reason why these karmic cycles are karmic parties, let me say that these karmic third parties are so hard to break, is because it's a soul tie. Because either it's a soul tie through the sexual component, through words that have been spoken, and just all of these soul ties. And we have to learn how to untangle and cut these soul ties, so people are out of our lives, out of our energies. We're not giving them any time of the day. We're letting them know straight up, this is it. I'm done with you. Whatever you're doing, I send it back to you, because it cannot touch me. I am protected and, guarded by my angels and my support team. So yeah, we're going to get into that topic, because I think it's something that we really need to address and understand, because I see so many people online and they are so upset with these third party karmics, and why they keep coming in, and why they keep doing this, and why they keep infiltrating, and because you have to understand the power that you have. The power is in your mouth. And when you start speaking it and meaning it and standing on it, then you will see change happen. So my name is Michelle Williams. I thank you for staying with me this long in the video. And again, when you sign up for my free webinar for Loving Yourself First, you're entered in to win this free card deck. I'm having some other card decks that will be available on the webinar. I'm not going to tell you, it's just going to be a surprise, but they're going to be card decks that's going to really help you in getting to where you need to be within relationships, family relationships, and also dealing with karmic cycles. So go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you'll know when I'm uploading any videos or going live. I also have a Patreon page that's coming out with special content that I'll be uploading on that page. So everything will be in the description box below. So thank you for staying this long with me. Have a great day, and I'll be back again with another video. Bye-bye.